Holy crap, there's so much news coming out of the exosphere that I can hardly keep up. God, where do I start? Okay, let's start with Pleven. Apparently, Pleven viewers are not happy. They didn't like Maddie V and Maddie P telling Pleven what to do. In fact, they're even threatening to quit watching his podcast. Like, seriously, dudes, can you not read the room? I'll bet old mate didn't even have the chat open, and Pleven sure as shit didn't put any of these posts up on the screen. I'm sensing an unhappy house over at Pleven's mum's attic. But wait, there's more. While Phelps is online claiming to be the victim of gang stalking, what's he doing? He's gang stalking. Except he doesn't realise that his gang has been blocked by pretty much everybody due to their gang stalking activities. I mean, tell us how you really feel, Maddie B. And then, when you're done abusing Turtle Boy for calling Matt Phelps a coward, which he is, you might want to have a listen to Joshua Levy's warning.
Hello, I'm Joshua Levy, the United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. Today, the ringleader of a highly disturbing harassment campaign targeting journalists just doing their jobs has been sentenced in federal court to several years in prison. This case underscores our unwavering commitment to protecting journalists and to the core principles of freedom of the press that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights. Eric Labarge, Tucker Cockerline, Michael Wasselcheck, and Kenyon Santanian were all conspired to harass and intimidate journalists from New Hampshire Public Radio. These acts were taken in retaliation for their reporting that exposed allegations of misconduct in New Hampshire sober homes operated by a close friend of Mr. Labarge. And the harassment campaign even extended to the parents of the journalists. These 4 convicted felons subjected the journalists and their families to weeks of calculated and cruel harassment. They brazenly vandalized their homes, including spray painting the most vile of epitaphs on the walls outside their house. They threw bricks and rocks through the windows and doors, and they instilled fear of further harm by sending messages that these first initial acts were just the beginning. Their malicious conduct inflicted deep emotional harm, not only on the victims, but also on journalists everywhere who are too often subjected to threats and harassment just for doing their jobs. This kind of conduct is not just reprehensible, it's criminal. No journalist should ever face threats, violence, or intimidation for uncovering the truth. Our office remains steadfast in ensuring that journalists can do their vital work without fear of retribution. We hope today's sentencing provides a measure of justice and closure to the victims. Today's sentence also sends a message to anyone who tries to intimidate journalists that you will be held accountable in a court of law. Thank you.
I get it. You guys think it's all fun and games because he's not a journalist. Do you really think Levy cares what you say? You think he's going to turn a blind eye just because you hate this particular journalist? Maybe you need to hear this one more time.
Today's sentence also sends a message to anyone who tries to intimidate journalists that you will be held accountable in a court of law.
He doesn't sound like he's messing around to me. While we're on the topic of actual journalists, let's read what Jess Machado had to say about William Phelps' representation of her in his podcast. I'll just remind you all that Jess actually does have restraining orders against violent people on the Phelps side. She writes, I mentioned this once before and perhaps thought it goes without saying, but I will double down on this. I set the bar very low for my contribution to this podcast. I have great friends who prepared me for every scenario that could come from doing a project with someone I do not know. I definitely thought that Phelps was pro-Karen and pro-Aiden. It isn't a prerequisite for me participating, as I would love to give my take to a project on the other side of this, but things that Phelps said led me to believe he was FKR. The latest episode has a significant amount of time devoted to my interview with Phelps. However, there are parts of what I said missing, including things adjacent to statements I said in the program. Things are taken out of context and moulded to fit a narrative. I knew this could happen. The clips of me speaking do not quite accurately depict what I said, but even more than that, they don't include what Phelps himself said as we had our interview. Statements and tone that lent to his support of Karen and Aidan are not present in this podcast. I was not offered any compensation for my interview and have made $0 from this. I think that reporters, journalists, and podcasters can have opinions. In fact, it's often mainstream media that pretend to be unbiased when in fact they aren't. But what I know is that all we have as journalists is our word and the integrity that is woven through those words. When someone alters the truth, however subtle, they simply have lost my respect. I do not know if any more of my interview will be included in this podcast going forward, but if it is, please know it may not hit the threshold for factual content. Well done, you guys. Making friends and influencing people, I see. How'd you go reaching out to the lawyers who follow Turtle Boy? Any luck convincing them that you're the victim and Aidan's the bad guy? How did Rich respond? With open arms? Wah. Doesn't look like it to me. I didn't think it was all that rude, actually. But your reply? Dude, come on. Jess could have warned you not to go full crusty, but you had to go full crusty. Oh dear. Seems like the lawyer's having quite the meltdown.
So Phelpsy accidentally released like some sort of draft of Part 7, and it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Plevin is a victim, he says, in this, of the mindless mob. He promotes Plevin's book. Like, it's fucking hilarious. He says that he's the biggest threat to me and Karen, which is just so funny. Like, the funniest shit I've ever heard. And then, I'm only like 8 minutes into this, but he goes, the McAlberts wouldn't talk to me, but Kerry Lama, a Twitter troll, will speak to him. And this is, who is good friends with Krusty Panties, like the most vile person on the internet. And this is what they're saying. Just listen, like, you got to hear the music when she talks about Jennifer McCabe like she's a saint. You just got to hear the music.
Troubling issues surrounding this case, for which I've never...
The veteran who's on the front lines in the Iraq War.
Oh, Albert.
Stellar career.
Brian Albert, stellar
Blue Sheep
career.
Sports as well. They all did. All of these,
sports.
all the witnesses.
Yeah.
Blue Sheep Sports. He, just stellar career that now has just been destroyed.
Poor guy.
Because of this.
And okay, so what else about Jennifer McCabe and Matt
listen to the
McCabe
music. Listen to the music.
This whole thing?
Anything
you want to share?
We hear the Matt story.
I think one of the
Here it is.
One of the ways that completely describes Jen and Matt McCabe is just how normal they are, but also
normal.
How ridiculously kind they are. I was at Jen and McCabe's house recently, and Jen and I were just having coffee and talking one morning.
Not working.
And I see Matt out of the corner of my eye running around the kitchen, making coffee, putting 2 coffees in mugs. I have no idea what he's doing. I'm kind of watching him, but Jen's talking. And he runs out the door, and I said to Jen, what is he doing? And she said, every week he makes coffee for the trash man.
For the trash man.
And they
man.
talk outside for 15 minutes and
have
their coffee together.
Oh my God, he drinks with the garbage man.
I don't know why, but that hit me so hard. What? And I got like a little teary because this is the man and the woman that, the world has been
they can't commit murder.
To believe are stone cold murderers.
Yeah, they can't commit murder. They drink coffee with the trash man.
Every hour.
He cracked the case. He's just following the facts, guys. He's just following the facts.
After she began posting her responses to what Kerry views as speculation and flat-out lies on social media.
So anyway, we're like, again, this is like 8 minutes in, and he accidentally released this early. So anyway, I was just cracking up. So good job, Phelpsy. Good job, pal. You're really chasing the facts, man. You're getting to the bottom of this one. Good job. You're a real serious podcaster. Don't worry, this is going to take off. You're going to make tons of money on this. You're going to do great, man. Your reputation after this is going to be awesome. Awesome, my dude.